331.8 grams. Whoa, on these trips, we've accomplished a great deal. Many things have been blown up by us. I have operated a wide variety of equipment. Nothing comes close to this, in my opinion. One of Parker Schnabel's most ambitious projects to date, acquiring a historic Bolivian gold mine. And the prize turned out to be this enormous mine in Bolivia. Yes, he and his gang received millions of dollars from this mine. There is a lot of promise in this historic old mine, but the risks are high. Let's go right in and discover what this bold move has for us today. He had reached a crucial location in his quest, the entry of Bolivia, a region renowned for its abundant mineral resources and hazardous terrain. Parker remained hopeful despite the enormous stakes. Gaining access to the mine and, more importantly, gaining the trust of the populace were his immediate objectives. In the hopes that they would eventually allow him to observe the operation firsthand and understand what was happening on the ground, he was keen to build a relationship with them. However, the problems came after them. The crew had to abandon the rental car in Peru, just short of the Bolivian border, because it was unable to survive the complete journey. They chose to continue their quest on foot since they had no other choice. A 160-yard section of no man's land, a desolate, unclaimed area between the two nations, had to be crossed as part of their final leg of travel. Anxiety and excitement were in the air as they got closer to the border. With Bolivia's gold-rich regions immediately ahead, this was a crucial juncture in their voyage. The team was able to resume their journey right once after arriving in Bolivia, since a reliable local contact had made arrangements for them to purchase a replacement vehicle. Although Peru offered many challenges, it also gave important information on the local mining environment. With findings that may define the entire expedition, Parker was convinced that Bolivia had much more promise. Additionally, the team had already found promising gold reserves in the Peruvian community of Lincolnata. They were searching for rich metal veins that ran south across the Andes and into Bolivia. Pupuo, a tiny frontier community, rich in gold that was built on the same quartz veins that had supported Lincolnata for thousands of years, was their next destination. The group would traverse the vast, desolate Altiplano Plateau, one of the highest and quietest places on Earth, for 8 hours in order to get in Pupuo. With its wide plains and towering mountain ranges, this isolated area made the perfect backdrop for their gold hunting adventure. The mineral-rich Altiplano has long been known for its buried gems, drawing miners and explorers for centuries. The gold in the earth is excellent. That will certainly be very deep, but it is possible if the ground is suitable. They had no set plan, but they were determined to explore as many mining areas as they could in the hopes of discovering gold in the most unlikely places. The town's isolation gave them the impression that they were on the edge of the world, but it also suggested that there might be wealth hidden beneath the surface. Whatever the case, and apparently forgotten by the passage of time, Pupuo has seen its share of gold rushes. Bolivia was one of South America's top producers of gold in the 19th century, and miners traveled there in search of wealth. However, because of dire conditions and a lack of infrastructure, a large portion of the region remained undeveloped. Parker was willing to take the chance in order to potentially strike it rich in such a historic location, even though he knew that this risky direct strategy may possibly backfire. In order to find anyone who could provide information on the mining activity in the area, Parker and Diego decided to split off from the rest of the squad. In the hopes that he may reveal any hidden gold veins, they went up to a local man. The local man had some interesting ideas as they talked. He mentioned the Spanish conquistadors, who had visited these nations years before, drawn by the same riches that Parker was looking for. In the 16th century, European warriors and explorers known as Spanish conquistadors journeyed to the Americas in pursuit of riches, power, and the growth of the Spanish Empire. Their desire for gold, silver, and other valuable resources drove them to explore vast swaths of land, often enslaving native populations. Expeditions led by well-known figures like Francisco Pizarro and Hernán Cortés overthrew strong civilizations like the Inca and Aztec empires. The legendary El Dorado, and other tales of vast wealth in South America. Among the Spanish, the El Dorado mythology begins to gain traction. Gonzalo Pizarro was one of the motivated conquistadors who returned to Spain with boatloads of riches, lured conquistadors to Bolivia and other regions where they thought the mountains and rivers held enormous treasures. The discovery of the Posse silver mines, one of the largest reserves in the world, stoked Spanish interest in Bolivia. The conquistadors went to great lengths to acquire gold, despite the fact that silver was the main goal. Parker looked around them. taking in the gravel and unusual rock formations that suggested a place that had once been abundant in gold reserves. It was clear that this area had been the site of generations of prospectors looking to make their fortune. Inquiring, Parker asked the man if he had ever mined himself. With a modest nod, the man identified himself as a gold miner. Intrigued, Parker asked more, wondering whether the man had a hidden place where he took his gold. The child merely smiled without directly answering. It seems that certain things are too valuable to share. His thoughtful reply was quite telling. He wanted to tell stories, but he wasn't going to divulge all of his hard-won knowledge. Parker pointed out that prospectors typically start by looking for float gold in nearby creeks in locations like these. Small particles from higher quantities are moved downstream. Finding float gold is often a good indicator that there is more significant gold upstream that is just waiting to be found. But as soon as they started working, they encountered problems. The surrounding muddy terrain did not bode well for a successful gold quest. Experience had taught Parker that muddy circumstances usually meant a less conducive environment for finding gold. There was little to show for their labors as they filtered through the sludge, and the soil lacked the usual golden sheen. As Parker dug into the pan and found it was devoid of the precious metal they were looking for, his initial optimism waned. "Just yellow rock," he murmured, his voice full of sadness. Their search had turned up nothing, but they had hoped to find even a tiny flake. Parker persisted in his resolve in spite of the setbacks, understanding that prospecting typically called for endurance and patience. It was not entirely unexpected, but the day had been disappointing. Today seemed more challenging, as prospecting often involves riding a roller coaster of highs and lows. Parker, however, had no intention of giving up just yet. He studied the surroundings, his eyes focusing on a woman across the street with a wide-brimmed hat. He remarked, "Maybe we can find some leads by asking her," in the hopes that she or someone intimate could offer helpful details. After they met a local miner who was working with gold, their luck started to turn. Parker and the crew were excited again, after the man was kind enough to share his findings with them. As they assembled, the young person reached into his pocket and produced a tiny piece of gold, a shimmering fragment of the treasure they had been looking for. "No way," Parker said, his eyes glimmering with anticipation. It was only a small nugget, but it was gold, so they knew they were at the proper place. The local miner went on to say that his collection now includes additional objects. As the local miner told Parker about his discovery across the river in the Golden Eagle area, Parker was captivated. Parker, keen to take use of this new knowledge, asked the miner to point them in the precise direction where he had been working. Their resolve was strengthened by this possible lead, and they set out with fresh vigor, hoping to discover gold in the same spot. But it's important to realize that Parker Schnabel was more than just a young man hoping to achieve greatness. He was raised in the mining culture of Alaska. He was immersed in the mining sector from a young age while growing up in Hannis, Alaska. The renowned Big Nugget Mine, a modest but prosperous enterprise that had become a local legend, was run by his grandfather, John Schnabel. Parker spent countless summers as a youth learning about gold mining from his grandfather. As a young man, Parker had gained invaluable experience, honing his skills in a variety of mining processes, including slewing, panning, and operating heavy equipment. His practical experience gave him a deep appreciation for the commitment needed in the pursuit of gold, and equipped him for the industry's challenges. This upbringing not only inspired him to pursue his objectives, but also prepared the way for his success as a miner and reality TV star. Parker Schnabel, 16 years old. "You know, school and the mining season kind of overlapped, and nobody was very happy, not even my parents. My folks weren't pleased. Assumed the enormous responsibility of running the large nugget mine, which was a noteworthy accomplishment for a person so young. He was prepared to invest all of the money the team had made the year before in the business, well aware that improved circumstances are necessary to ensure success. His duties encompassed not only the physical labor of mining, but also the intricate management duties necessary to operate a mining business, oversee machinery, communicate with crew members, and make critical decisions that could mean the difference between success and failure. Parker showed that he was more than capable of managing his responsibilities, even though they were heavy. He bravely chose to invest his college funds in his first mining season, rather than attend college. This decision was a wise investment, and demonstrated his unwavering commitment to the mining industry. In his first full season of independent mine administration, Parker and his team successfully recovered nearly 1,000 ounces of gold, earning him about $55,000, a substantial sum for novices. The makers of Gold Rush, a well-liked reality show on the Discovery Channel that chronicled the struggles and triumphs of miners chasing wealth in the gold fields, were intrigued by Parker's early success, which also showed off his skills and tenacity. His remarkable success story struck a chord with viewers, laying the groundwork for him to become one of the show's main protagonists and combine his name in the cutthroat world of gold mining. Parker Schnabel's exceptional work ethic, leadership skills, and unwavering dedication to the mining industry made him an instant fan favorite on Gold Rush. Fans witnessed him grow not just as a young player, but also as a strong leader over the seasons. His aspirations expanded along with his organization, and he was pushed to establish increasingly challenging gold production targets every season. Parker consistently pushed the boundaries, aiming for thousands of ounces. Although many miners would have been content with a few hundred, he stood out from people around him due to his unwavering determination and competitive temperament. But there were challenges along the way for Parker. During his time in the Klondike, he encountered one of the biggest obstacles. I believe he is currently on this property, coming up here at Dean Russell's Dominion Gold Resources, which is one of the most well-known gold mining regions in the world. Even with the show's well-documented achievements, mining is a challenging and uncertain profession, which makes Parker's ability to overcome these obstacles all the more remarkable. Located in Canada's Yukon Territory, the Klondike region is well known and linked to the gold rush of the late 19th century. The Klondike Gold Rush, which peaked in 1897 and 18,980, was brought on by the discovery of gold in Bonanza Creek in 1896, which attracted an enormous number of prospectors and fortune seekers. To get to the gold-rich creeks, thousands of eager miners, known as stampeders, endured perilous circumstances like harsh winters and challenging terrain. The area became a vibrant center of activity as a result of the Klondike Gold Rush. The allure of gold drew individuals from all walks of life, creating a vibrant and diverse population, as places like Dawson City developed into vital hubs for mining operations and support services. But the boom was short-lived. Many of the readily available gold deposits had been depleted by the early 1990s. He encountered a string of technical malfunctions, logistical difficulties, and a declining number of mineable surfaces during one of his seasons in the Klondike. Effective mining in this area necessitates careful planning, not only for the excavation site, but also for the transportation of essential equipment and staff management in such a distant area. As the cumulative weight of these responsibilities started to weigh on Parker, he started to wonder if it was worthwhile to keep on. But he persevered through these difficult times. South America's Guyana was the scene of one of Parker's most notorious mining operations. At first, he and his team thought Guyana would be a thrilling new adventure because the trees there were rumored to be rich in gold. Parker soon discovered that mining in this area was far more challenging than he had thought. The extreme heat, high humidity, and lush vegetation made working practically impossible. The crew encountered a number of challenges while in Guyana. Equipment malfunctions were frequent. Roads became mud pools due to heavy rains, and the bush seemed to be working against them constantly. The difficulties were exacerbated by political obstacles and local constraints. It would be awesome to simply locate a small creek like that, find some quality gravel, and pan out some gold. That serves as a good reminder of our purpose. I'm essentially making it difficult to establish a legitimate mining company. Parker and his colleagues worked tirelessly for weeks, but in the end, they came away without any gold. Even though this trip was a huge letdown, they learned important lessons about the unpredictability of mining and the value of flexibility when faced with adversity. Parker had a challenging time in Guyana, but his job in the Yukon has been much more fulfilling. Throughout his tenure on Gold Rush, Parker has made some of his most spectacular gold discoveries in the Yukon, which is regarded as one of the richest gold regions in the world. During one of his best seasons, Parker made millions of dollars by obtaining about 6,000 ounces of gold. In addition to solidifying his reputation as one of Gold Rush's top miners, this remarkable achievement gave him the money he needed to expand his mining operations. One of the things that sets Parker Schnabel different from other miners is his unwavering work ethic. He is renowned for pushing his team to the maximum, often putting in long hours, and demanding excellence from all those working on the mining project. Parker has a simple mining concept. To succeed, one must be willing to work hard and take risks. According to him, mining is more than just finding gold. It also involves effectively running the company's business division. This entails managing expenses, making wise investments, and continuously seeking out fresh prospects. Parker is working on another project called Parker's Trail, in addition to the show. Parker Schnabel retraces the paths of well-known gold rush adventurers in this spin-off series. His trip over the Klondike Trail, a famous route where many miners risk their lives in quest of gold, was one of the most exciting experiences in the series. The Klondike Trail is well known for its challenging conditions, which include frigid temperatures and hazardous altitude. Parker faced many of the same difficulties as the original miners on his journey, such as intense cold, scarce food supplies, and physical exhaustion that impacted him and his crew. Nevertheless, they were able to finish the challenging voyage, thanks to Parker's unwavering determination and superb leadership. Furthermore, Parker has extended his mining activities to Australia, which is widely acknowledged as one of the world's most lucrative gold-producing regions. The goal of this action was to give Parker additional opportunities. One of the most important periods in Australia's history is the gold mining industry. The discovery of gold, the growth of the economy, and the transformation of society are what define this chapter. British colonists in New South Wales claimed to have found gold in Australia in the 1790s. For the first time, gold was brought up in connection with Australia. However, it wasn't until a significant discovery was made that the gold rush era officially began. The beginning of the gold rush was in 1851, when Edward Hargreaves discovered gold in Ba, New South Wales. This finding directly resulted in a massive rush of prospectors and settlers, which sped up the development of new towns and mining camps. The 1850s saw a large number of gold discoveries, most of which took place in the state of Victoria, with prominent gold fields being at Bendigo and Ballarat. As people sought their fortunes in the gold fields, these finds resulted in the development of thriving settlements and a notable increase in the population. There was societal upheaval throughout the gold rush as well. The Eureka Rebellion, which occurred in Ballarat in 1854, was the most famous of these. A turning point for Australia's democratic process began when miners rebelled against government controls and exorbitant license fees. As a result, mining regulations were changed, and miners' rights were increased, which demonstrated the colony's changing power structures. Parker is faced with an interesting challenge as it adapts to new environments and legal restrictions. These environments differ greatly from those found in the Yukon. Parker Schnabel is working to diversify his mining operations and explore new options for extracting gold, and this move into Australia is a component of that effort. This project has a great deal of promise for success, even if it is still in its early stages, perhaps even greater than his achievements in the Yukon. Gold mining is a dynamic business that is always changing, with new regulations and technologies affecting how miners carry out their work. Parker has continuously placed himself at the forefront of these advancements throughout his career by investing heavily in state-of-the-art machinery and remaining up to date with the latest mining techniques. I believe that the majority of this run was in ditches. Yes, sir. The potential environmental effects of gold mining provide one of the biggest obstacles he faces. Miners are coming under increasing pressure to use more sustainable and ethical practices. Parker is dedicated to reducing the adverse environmental impacts of his company and is fully aware of these problems. This passion is reflected in his Bolivian escapades. Make sure you subscribe for the latest information and updates. If you like this, look into Parker's journey and would like to follow more of his thrilling exploits. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you soon.